Welcome to the unique world of Doing Dyslexia Differently, where we unravel the many facets of dyslexia in small, digestible bites, challenge stereotypes, and create a brighter future for our children. We'll focus on fostering your child's mindset, confidence, and self-esteem so they can reach their full potential in and out of the classroom. Let's challenge the status quo, break down the barriers, and unravel the spectrum of possibilities. I'm your host, Bernadette Haigh, and together we can do dyslexia differently. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Doing Dyslexia Differently podcast. I'm so unbelievably happy to have you here and to finally release the creation that is Doing Dyslexia Differently into the world. For this first episode, I really just wanted to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about who I am, my story with dyslexia, and about the show, how best you can use it, what to expect, and I promise I'll keep this one short and sweet for you. So if we haven't met before, my name is Bernadette. I was raised in the inner city of Sydney, Australia, but more recently relocated to beautiful Queensland on the Gold Coast. I'm a mother of two gorgeous children, passionate change seeker and advocate for dyslexia, a total self-development geek, and a proud bookworm. I've spent most of my career building businesses across a vast array of industries with reasonable success, but that wasn't really always the case for me. It certainly wasn't expected. I started my schooling years in the late 80s and struggled big time. Primary school was particularly traumatic for me. My learning difference went undiagnosed. I repeated a school year and was the victim of horrendous bullying. I left school with reasonably low expectations of myself, my ability, and most certainly with very low self-esteem. But as I became more and more successful in the real world, I started to question the inner dialogue that was still plaguing me, the stories that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart, that I was different and that wasn't accepted, that I'd never achieve this kind of success that my peers would. So I dove deep into personal development, and the trajectory of my life started to change dramatically. So if we fast forward a decade or so, here I am raising my firstborn, a beautiful little boy. By the age of 4, I really knew that he was on the same path as me. I had recognized so many of my early behaviors in him, and I said to my husband, I'm pretty sure he has dyslexia, a hunch that I'd carried for myself for so long. On that hunch, for him, I started early intervention well before a diagnosis. And I'm pretty sure the first therapist that I contacted thought I was absolutely crazy. But over the next 7 years, I have just been determined to make sure that his story looks and sounds nothing like mine. When he was diagnosed with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and ADHD in the inattentive form, I also officially got my diagnosis, and it was one of the most liberating days of my life. But what I quickly realized on the journey with him was there was so much information available about academic intervention and supports, but very little about the emotional, psychological, and social impacts of growing up with dyslexia. These were things that I carried well into my adulthood, long after I could read and write proficiently. So I started writing my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences and lessons, and then more recently fostered enough courage to start to share those publicly on my blog and social media account, Daring Dyslexic. And now this podcast. My goal is really to support anyone that's responsible for raising children with dyslexia, whether it be parents, carers, grandparents, teachers, therapists, tutors. Everyone has an impact and everyone's voice is important. So whilst for me this is really daunting and quite scary, I am taking my own advice, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and hoping that this show will really offer you something. It will be a mix of episodes where I will discuss the practical and actionable steps for particular topics, with a real focus on how we can help foster a growth mindset, confidence and self-esteem in our children, as well as interviews with adults that have overcome their dyslexia challenges and reached success, whatever that looks like to them. These won't be big names or famous people. These will be everyday women and men that I really admire, that I've looked up to, and that I know can share a different way that you too can do dyslexia differently. You don't have to listen to episodes in order. By all means, pick and choose what is relevant or resonates on any one day. If you find what I share to be helpful and useful, which I certainly hope you do, I would be so grateful if you would leave a review and share with anyone else you think may benefit. I truly believe that the rising tide lifts all boats. Well, that's a very brief intro to me and the Doing Dyslexia Differently podcast. I really hope you join me on this journey, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye for now. Thanks for listening. I hope you were able to take something away from this episode that will help both you and your child. If so, please be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with new episodes, and jump over to daringdyslexic.com.au to join my free community, where each week I send you one practical action you can take to shift the dial on your child's confidence, self-esteem and mindset. It's 100% free and 100% actionable. That's all for now. I look forward to connecting again soon.